I grew up in Michigan, small town, Jackson, Michigan. I was an assistant manager up in Whitehall, Michigan, which is on right off Lake Michigan, right on Lake Michigan. I was there for about 3 or 4 years as the assistant and got my first manager's job then in Mount Morris, Michigan. And after that, I said I wanted to get out of the snow. I'm part of a professional organization of city managers, and they have a newsletter. And I had seen the ad for Acworth. It was during the Olympics, and interviewed, sent my resume, got a chance to interview, and came down for an interview during the Olympics. Bob Gibson was the mayor, and Acworth back then, I was in a town of about 3,500. When I got to Acworth, it was only about 6,000, 7,000. It was an exciting time to come to Acworth. When I first got here, one of the first things I saw is I went down to the beach, and there was a chain link fence with barbed wire on top of it, going through Cobble Park telling people, do not enter. And I was like, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? And the question was, how do we get the beach opened? So we worked with EPD, the state EPD, and started testing to figure out what was going on. Cobb Water and Sewer was involved to make sure all the pipes were not leaking. And after testing it for a year or two, we determined, the state said, yes, you can reopen it. And so one of the best days that we've had was when we took that fence down and were able to reopen what I say is Cobble Park. And that's really where our festival started, because we did a festival back in, it would have been in the late 90s to celebrate the opening of Lake Acworth. I work with the county and work out what our allocation's gonna be. I sit down with staff and I'll talk, because normally it's police, power, or police, public works, and parks and rec are what you're looking at. We sit down and make that determination, and then ultimately then I take that to the city council with my recommendation saying this is how I believe we should allocate it. Then there'll be some town hall meetings for the public to have input into it, but that's how the process works. And again, when I got here in '96, our downtown was pretty much empty. We didn't have a lot going on. Some of the buildings had bad facades that had been put on over the years to cover the history. And we were facing a unique situation that we had a whole group of buildings that needed to be brought up to code. And so our challenge was, how do we keep the history but make those buildings safe so that they could be reused? My job is to direct staff in terms of where the council wants us to go. And one of the things I'm a huge believer in is I don't believe in red tape. I want things to move fast. And I think that's where we've gotten a reputation with businesses, is that we will do everything and anything to help you succeed. Because if a business succeeds, then the community succeeds. We had a group of people who were just passionate about trying to save the old depot. But what happened is, when the reality set in that the old depot was actually, the ironic part is it's too big. And it's too wide and it's too long. And there was no physical place on Main Street that you could put it. So when we were developing the plans for the downtown, what if we built, or could we build, a replica depot and put it in the park? We had a little parking lot right by the caboose, and said, could we fit something in there? And from there, people like Tim Richardson and Mayor Alligood went and talked to the Save Acworth history folks and said, hey, what about this as an alternative? And that's what's so great about this, is by working collaboratively together, they were able to change a little bit of their focus to now just instead of saving a building, they're looking at saving history. I believe that you got to be part of the community, and it's not just being the city manager and, I want to go out and get my hands dirty and do more than just sit in an office. It's not common for a city manager to be someplace for so long, but when I moved here, I never had any idea that I would be here this long. But this community, once you get involved, it offers everything. I mean, there's nothing more, and I don't look at it as a job. I look at it as a love. And, you got to enjoy what you're doing. And there's no other city that could offer me what this city does. There's no other place. Acworth is just a beautiful, wonderful place.